Hey everyone, how's it going? Happy Thursday. It's been a while since I made a video, so I figured I might as well, talk about everything that's happened since the last post. Two main things I want to cover. One is Bitcoin price, two is SpaceX, like a recap of it. In other news, I could talk a little bit about what I've been working on because it's kind of put trading on a hold, but not really at the same time. I'm not really sure what I should be documenting on this channel. I think it's like kind of at a point now where I'm in this data collection phase. So there isn't really that much I could show that is kind of worth sharing. But regardless, we could kind of recap stuff. I think geopolitically, we're in an interesting spot right now. Talks about like the Strait of Hormuz. I don't really feel like talking about this at all, honestly. Anything that happens politically, I feel like gets priced in relatively quickly. There isn't really anything it can act on. And now the market is pretty dominated by algorithms. So it's kind of hard to find mispricings without kind of immediately being in a drawdown as a manual trader in retail at all. So building criteria to where you're not in a drawdown is pretty difficult because there's a bunch of other competitors that are doing it better than you. Regardless, I think it's worth talking about Bitcoin. You'll see kind of these levels that I marked out. These are kind of what I think are key levels. I think one that's not pictured here is kind of the 45 to 35 range. This would be a place where I would accumulate pretty heavily if it gets down there, but I don't know if it will. Recent price action is showing 65K got rejected here on the weekly. When it bounced up above 60K in the past week, there were a lot of times where it got rejected, and it made me think that we would go lower. So every time that it would dip under 60K, it would get pretty frequently bought up. But there were these periods where it would get rejected and then fall under. So I was thinking we were going to go lower. But honestly, it just hasn't happened. The lowest we got to was around this 58K level. And now today we have this recovery back above 60K. So it's hard to think that we will go lower just because of how many times we've seen the 65 to 60K and under 60K get bought up. And that's why I'm kind of keeping this consistent daily accrual, let's say, of Bitcoin. Getting messages from my manager while I'm making this video is kind of unlucky. CCWD, we had this big candle here, and then as we broke above it, we have a failed breakout. I feel like this is a very good shorting strategy, especially when price reaches these extended mean reversion levels, like 2 standard deviations, 3 standard deviations above average price. Bro, it's like as soon as I want to record a video, I get 2 emails and messages from my managers like, what the flying F, bro? What the hell happened here? Oh, interesting. We're gonna pretend I'm on lunch. All right, where were we? So yeah, anyways, Bitcoin. My whole thesis around Bitcoin is this is the digital gold supply in a sense. It is gold in the sense of what's the point of work? Jesus Christ. Like what is this timing? I didn't get messages all day, bro. So the risks to Bitcoin, one is it gets hacked. Two is a competitor comes up that's just better. And three, and I don't know if this is really a risk, but I guess the utility of it there isn't really any utility. That's what people say, at least. I feel like the utility of it is you could send basically digital gold to anyone in the world at any time. And it's a hedge against inflation. There's a cap supply, all that. As far as the first two risks go, I feel like the probability is very low. So there isn't really much to worry about there, in my opinion. And I feel like the probability that it doubles from these levels is higher than the probability that it goes to zero. So in that kind of context, it makes sense to have like an allocation, whatever it may be, to Bitcoin based on your risk tolerance, what you can afford to lose, assuming that it could potentially go to zero. That's why I feel like Bitcoin will go up. There's so much of the supply that's been lost as well. What banks are doing is implementing what cryptocurrency projects are doing at a financial institutional level. That being said, there will always be these smaller projects that come out that are built on different networks that are going to be better for and solving whatever problem. Until there's 24/7 transfers of money, which I don't think will happen, honestly, because the banks have to make money. I think that cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency projects will continue to do well. So I would pick and choose whichever projects you're interested in. But that's my theory behind Bitcoin, is it's the gold of the cryptocurrency overall market, because it's the only one that's the most mature, and it's the only one that has a cap supply. It's not inflationary, and it still provides people with the ability to send currency to each other at any time. And yeah, that being said, having exposure to other projects I think is important, just in case those emerge as a better alternative. Like there's like SEI and SUI and like Litecoin and other cryptocurrencies that are kind of like, how I see it, other metals where they have maybe higher supply, lower energy costs, lower transaction costs, but serve the same purpose. But my thought on Bitcoin is it is the only one with the lowest supply. So why not get some exposure to a currency that doesn't have as much supply and would have seemingly more demand in the future? Now, talking about SpaceX a little bit, interesting floor at the open for opening price for long. I was actually talking about this at work. On opening day, you really have no idea what's going to happen. I will say that the bias leans bullish, just because it was the biggest IPO in history and people are naturally going to ape into that. So it could have definitely been a play to buy on open with a tight stop and not getting stopped out on the open. It is really hard to anticipate that. That's why I didn't trade it. But the opening day price action was super bullish. And then it carried up, and then we have this doji on the daily. And that's a pretty good sign that it's going to reverse. It opened higher and then started coming down. But if we wanted to laser in on this day, you'll kind of see why it seemed like it was gonna reverse. It's mainly this candle here. There was a huge drop and we kind of topped out in the 220, 230 area and saw harsh rejections versus the very bullish action we saw on the prior 2 days. So this was a very clear indecision day, indicating that this range, and if we just put it out, can be seen as a resistance zone. So there are a good amount of people that bought here that are still holding, which would make me think the next time we got there, there may be a sell-off. And then same thing with the opening price, kind of this bar of volume here. This is also a zone of interest. This area, this middle ground is like I wouldn't buy or sell. But if we got to this area or this area, we had some buying already here and we had a big down day yesterday. So it's hard to think that we're gonna go up and retest these highs, but it could happen. We'll see. Once this support level breaks of 148, the opening price, it could kind of start free falling down like most IPOs do. And then I'll start looking at, okay, accumulating this as a long-term hold. Just looking at BNRG, we've got an interesting amount of interesting price action here. I might honestly see if I could fit in a trade real quick. So I took a short. My average price is 1.1. I took 500 shares, and then I'll probably look to add, if it gets to like 125, probably add 250 at 125 if it gets there. Shall do 250 at 1.2, just in case we wake up there, because that did see rejection. There isn't any news, any real reason for this to have happened, so we might be able to get a wake up there based on this price action I'm seeing. And then I'll play kind of 1.05 to cover. But it's very possible it doesn't even get up there. And then goes back to 105 and 1, and I'll just cover my 500 shares. Energy is always a little bit risky. So look, that was a pretty big rejection. So 105, I will put an order for half my position off, 5 cents. Do one We'll just do 1.0 since I think this will get down there. Yep. So that got filled for 250 shares. Now I'll hold this. I think 0.95 will be where I get out of the rest. I expect a little bit of buying here, but I don't expect us to get back to 1-1 with how much selling pressure we see. So this could be a pretty comfortable hold to 0.95. And then I'm canceling my 125 order. And it looks like 96 got bought. If we close above 1 here, this is kind of bullish. It could be like relisting, or not relisting, but compliance related buying to get above 1. But it's still, I think, kind of safe to hold here with my average at 1-1. I'm going to update my order to be 9.6 instead of 9.5. Expecting one more leg down as people covered into that dump. I think the fact that it's not going back up to 105 easily is pretty bearish, but we'll see if there's a rush of buying that comes in. One's kind of getting rejected now, but there's still some orders there. Kind of an indecision point, it looks like. So now we see 9.8. So I think 9.6 is going to get hit here. 9.7 got bought a little bit. We bumped up to 9.9 and 1. Yeah, I don't know. It might take a little while, so I'll just hold still. While I'm holding this and monitoring it, actually, we might get taken out here of the position. Still, like, just bumping 9.7. Just one more flush is all we need. And there it is. So we got filled there. Oh, I only got out 100 shares, so I'm going to get out at market price here for the rest. All right, we're out. So cool. We got a live trading video here. So I'll show you guys. All right, we did it. This was the trade. My locate fee was, let's see here, $4.50. So pretty decent. On my account, this is, I think I have like 4K in this account. So it's like 1%, a little over 1% return. But pretty good snag, right? No reason for the stock to go up that much. Playing risk appropriately. I located 1,000 shares looking to add. And yeah, just took it. The big rejection was nice. Yeah, it's been a while since I did a live trade, so that's pretty cool that you guys got to see that. I don't have the infra I used to because I couldn't justify it, but that's pretty good. Going to SpaceX again. Yeah, I would expect this to break through this support level and continue down like IPOs do. The narrative here is different though, which makes it tougher because it is the most hyped IPO of all time, and a lot of people are getting exposure to this in Tesla as a Starlink play and space play in general, which is kind of the next step past AI, I think, is these companies that are getting into space and providing services to people are the next big wave. But, you know, a lot of this stuff is like just churning costs. So it's kind of hard to fundamentally long-term invest in them. But as like a purely technical price action play, they could be very good longs. Personally, I'm not touching SpaceX until I see those early shareholders start cashing out. And institutional ownership to drop, and then I'll start slowly accumulating and playing it as a long term. I'm talking like 20-30 year play. In other news, I'm doing some tracking on my strategies and doing some forward testing, some back testing. Basically, what I've done here is I'm looking at the top gainers each day, and I have kind of a data pipeline that's set up to accrue that data and test my strategies against that data, and then also look for variance periodically that could lead to better ROI. So interesting numbers. Obviously, N is the number of samples here. Maybe not obviously if you're not a statistics expert, but N being the number of samples, variant, this is just any strategy variant. These are sorted by win percentage, I believe. So I just sorted it by net ROI, which tries to take into account fees and whatnot. But you can see here, there's a lot that just doesn't have enough samples. If we were to filter some of those out, we start getting more samples and interesting statistics. And then we have max drawdown here. So you could see that the ones that are actually actionable will have pretty crazy drawdown in that specific stock. But obviously this isn't risk adjusted. So it's not like it's on the total account amount drawdown. This is on the specific position. Like if I took a trade, I would be down 67% on that trade at a given time at the absolute max. So not ideal, right? But we have these variants that are a little bit better too. And yeah, so I've just been tracking these. They're hidden so that people can't replicate it. This video is just going out into the void, but I don't want to lose edge by showcasing exactly what the strategy is, exactly how to set it up. But it is something interesting if you're interested in. Feel free to like leave a comment and I'm happy to talk about more. Same thing on the cryptocurrency side for this strategy, doing the same exact kind of approach. This is piped to the cryptocurrency project Hyperliquid. So they have an API, super interesting stuff, definitely worth digging into. At this point, I'm spending a lot of time just kind of researching things, thinking of new ideas, using Claude to help me. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, feel free to reach out, either join my Discord or leave a comment, or, you know, my socials are in the description. So you can just shoot me a message anywhere and I'm happy to help. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed. Please give a like and comment if you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts about anything I talked about today. And yeah, catch y'all later. Peace.